This episode of Tech News Weekly is brought to you by Braintree Payments. Mobile app development can be complex, but integrating your payments no longer has to be. With Braintree, your business can accept nearly every type of payment from any device with just one integration. Learn more, go to braintreepayments.com/TNW.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zare, and of course I'm joined by the one, the only, the sensational John Bub. How you doing, John?
It's me.
It's a John. How you doing?
How's it going?
I am exhausted, man. I had a very busy couple days. We normally do the show on Friday, but we're doing it on Monday because I missed last week. I was not in town. I went to Brooklyn for a wrestling show.
I see. So this show that we do here, this isn't important.
Well, it is important, but I sometimes like to go and try.
I
new
see
things.
what take precedence.
It did take precedence. That absolutely did take precedence. So I went on
I'm
Friday.
not a blank shot either, by the way.
You're not at what?
I'm not a blank shot.
Oh, this isn't you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. I
Jerk.
And then on Saturday, I went to a different wrestling show. Which, John, I know you're not into wrestling, but if you were at this event, you would have loved it. It was
There is something
awesome.
different about it when you're there in person than watching it on TV.
So we're not talking about a big arena, right? We're talking about a nightclub that probably had about 250 to 500 people. And everybody was in their early 30s. Everybody was like a normal dude, dressed nice. Like there were no smelly monsters anywhere. It was like a really interesting crowd of like, hey, you know what? We really like wrestling. And I know you like to get into things like this. Like you like the whole geek culture and stuff.
Yeah.
This was the best part. Everybody wanted the good guys to win, and everybody booed the bad guys. And at the end, it was like the show was over. After the match, everybody stood up and clapped for every match. It was so much fun. And there was a taco stand. There was a taco cart, so you could go and get tacos. They had a great bar of really cheap beer. It was the best wrestling event I've ever gone to. The lighting was actually, production-wise, I have to tell you, I was really impressed. It looked impressive on like a really small scale. It was really fun. So this is something like I always try to determine, listen, I'm a fan, so I'm going to enjoy it. But would John like it? Would Jess like it? These are people that don't necessarily like wrestling. Is this something that they would get into? So it was so much fun. And I wanted to do the show. I enjoyed doing the show. So I said, let's do it on Monday, because Mondays I don't do any shows. So probably nobody knows that we're doing the show today, but it's fine. It'll go out on podcast.
It's been on the calendar. But then again, nobody looks at our website, so.
Yeah. Hey, where's Paul? That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I got to do an ad, but what I'm going to say is, where's Paul?
Is this live?
Is this live? Where's Paul? Hey, guys, before we continue with the show, I want to take a moment and talk about our sponsor, Braintree, a PayPal company. Simple, secure payments, and code you can integrate quickly. Learn more, go to braintreepayments.com/TNW. Now, I want to talk about Braintree. I always give you guys a story about one of my friends that implemented Braintree. I ran into Lewis on Saturday night, and he came over to me. I'm sitting down at the bar, and I'm having a drink, and he comes over, and he goes, dude, I heard your live read. You mentioned me. I was like, yeah, I like to incorporate. He's like, man, he's like, I popped. I thought that was so awesome that you spoke about my experience. He just told me that his company's doing tremendous. I don't want to name, but he's getting investors. This guy, like people are looking into him. So, and he implemented Braintree in his service, in his app. Now, by next year, and this is why Braintree's great, right? By next year, maybe even next week, there could be a whole new way to do payments. Maybe it'll be the next Bitcoin, maybe the next Apple Pay, maybe the next Samsung Pay, Android Pay. There's a different payment solution literally every single week. Fortunately, Braintree is a full-stack payment platform, so it's easily adaptable to whatever the future holds for you. So you never have to worry about saying, oh my gosh, Braintree won't work with this payment method. It doesn't matter if you're using Pounds or PayPal, it will work. From any device, one simple integration, and you could start accepting payments. These guys are great. You don't have to have late nights where you have complicated codes and you're going back and forth. It's literally a couple lines of code and you're set. BraintreePayments.com/TNW. Go sign up. Let them know we sent you. I love these guys. Great company. And, when John's our coder here, when he tells me, yeah, I took a look at the code, it's really, really good. So it means something because he never lies. BraintreePayments.com/TNW. I want to thank Braintree for supporting the show and for, of course, supporting the GFQ network. So, John.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment here.
That's not me either.
I don't know what's going on with these buttons. There you go. Let's take a moment. I don't know what's going on with these buttons. Let's take a moment. I want to talk about
a little
this
bit
story.
of trouble there today, huh?
No, you know what it is? This keyboard that I'm using, I don't know why. It started about a month ago where if I hit the letter, if I hit like I'm going to do it right now, okay? I'm hitting camera 1, it does nothing. And then if I toggle numlock and then go back, it'll be able to switch. So I have no idea what's going on with this keyboard. I want to talk about this because this was a big story late last week, and it speaks volumes on the way that content is being delivered to us. Hulu and YouTube are reportedly both launching a TV service. Also, there's some rumors that Netflix is possibly getting into this as well. The talk right now is that Hulu will be implementing something in early 2017 where it'll be a basic cable provider. They'll add another package on top of whatever you're currently paying, and you'll get cable service. The same goes for YouTube. Bloomberg is reporting that YouTube might get into the action in 2017 with a new service called Unplugged. The plan calls for YouTube to offer a bundle of cable TV stations. But what channels, it still remains to be seen. Bloomberg noted that the discussion is ongoing with major networks such as much like Comcast, NBC Universal, Viacom, Fox, CBS. This is interesting because this is a hot topic on the show. We always talk about cutting the cord, and we always talk about different options. Hulu, YouTube, what do you think of this? Is this the future of cable television at this point?
It's a good question, and I think there's still a lot of skepticism there because we've seen companies come and go, Aereo being one of them, which was an awesome service.
It was over the air.
It
was an over-the-air service.
It just didn't work out for them.
What was it that got them into trouble, though? What was the thing that got Aereo into trouble? The fact that
licensing.
It was licensing for
rebroadcast licensing.
Rebroadcast, but I think nobody cared until they started doing DVR. I think that's when I believe that's when it was like the nail in the coffin for them.
Well, everybody liked the service because it actually freaking worked.
I had it, and it looked great.
And even with the solutions that are available today, including Sling, there is no perfect solution.
No, there definitely isn't. At
least when it comes to live TV, that is.
When it comes to live TV, you're absolutely right. There's not a lot of great solutions.
The big issue here is any company that's looking to get into this, Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, their biggest challenge, and this is something that even Apple has faced with trying to get a TV subscription service for the Apple TV, is licensing from these companies, from NBC Universal, from these networks. That is the number one problem. And even worse is that once you do get these terms hammered out and you start offering stuff, you eventually end up paying pretty much the same as you would for cable TV. So these days, the only way to compete and get these terms is to offer a price that's comparative to cable TV. So you're not really saving any money by cutting the cord anymore.
Yeah, so this
is just a different delivery.
The rumor right now for YouTube is that they're going to be offering their basic service for $35 a month, which is kind of reasonable. That's kind of what they're doing.
It's reasonable, but that's on par with cable TV services when you look at their basic packages.
Is it?
Yeah. $35, $40, $45. Those are all base prices for whatever the cheapest package is.
What's the PlayStation? The View, right? PlayStation View is their TV service. I can't remember what I think theirs was like $29.99 for their service.
But this is the thing, is that even once you do that, but then if you wanted to add on, certain things, sports packages or HBO or Showtime, then it's, you're adding on all these things. So you're going to pay $35 for YouTube. You're going to pay $15 for HBO. You're going to pay $10 for Netflix. You're going to pay another $10 for Hulu for the on-demand stuff, and then there you go. You're at $80 per month.
Yeah, then you're at $80. I mean, the concept of I'm gonna cut the cord and I'm gonna save
money
to save money, but then you get, then you're getting the MLB package because you want to watch baseball. Then you're getting Hulu. Then you're getting Netflix, and then you're getting HBO. It kind of adds up at the end to whatever it is. Right now, I mean, we have Hulu. I have Hulu. I have the WWE Network. I have Netflix, and I'm pay, that's about $30-something right there for just my online consumption.
Yep.
And that's not even adding like if I wanted to get YouTube Red or if I wanted to get another service. So I think
iTunes Music
or iTunes. Okay, that's another one.
Spotify,
yeah, Spotify, iTunes Music. So these
all
these
things, it's at least $10, and you have 4 or 5 of them. You're at $50 to $80.
I actually really like Hulu. I was not a big fan of Hulu until they added that ad-free package for $12 a month. And since I got that, I have to tell you, I have not watched any Netflix. There's nothing on Netflix that I'm watching. I don't know about you. Like, do you have Hulu at all?
I don't have Hulu. I've heard good things. I mean, in the beginning, they weren't that great, but over time, they have really made some changes that have helped them, especially with the ads and the amount of ads that they do, and just the overall content that they have. But this is one thing that worries me about all this stuff is the delivery, how they're delivering this stuff. Because even YouTube, I don't think has that great of a live platform. YouTube, compared to others such as Twitch or Ustream, has nowhere near of as good of a network as others do.
Are you talking about content delivery as far as live content goes? Are you talking about like the streaming capabilities?
Streaming capabilities.
That's interesting, right? Because you
the
would
technical
imagine
aspect of it.
Yeah, but are they going to be the ones? I guess they would be handling the pipe. Now, I don't know if I would be necessarily inclined to purchase YouTube. I have an issue with YouTube and watching long-form content. I think they're having some trouble adapting to the big screen. But a company like Hulu, which specializes in this, I would be more inclined to sign up for like a Netflix live streaming or a Hulu live streaming than I would that a YouTube live streaming.
I think Hulu would have an advantage over YouTube doing something like this because they're already pretty much in that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can rent videos on YouTube, but who does that?
Yeah, you know what? Who is renting videos on YouTube? That's a really good question. Have you ever done that?
Nope. Never.
I was thinking about, like, I've done movie rental on Amazon Prime because I have the Fire TV. I've also done it on iTunes, on the Apple TV, but I don't think I've ever done a Google service for film, for rentals, for TV or anything like that. It's a very different use case for YouTube, and I know that they're trying to get into that. Now, the other question is, how do the cable companies feel about this? How are they going to, kind of compete with this? I imagine Verizon on their own is going to have their own online streaming service for $35 a month, where they're offering you exactly what the other ones are.
The biggest problem that I have with all of these is the streaming quality and the technical delivery of it. It can be done, but it's not that great of an experience compared to having this dedicated pipe for your TV. Which is basically what you have now if you have a cable TV service.
Yeah, and that's been my argument for a while. Listen, if you don't care about having the best quality that you could possibly get, then you know what? You should not worry about this. You should not worry at all. Because you know what? You could pay the $35 a month and you could get it working. It's no problem. But if you do care about having, if you're watching sports, for example, and you want to have really good quality sporting on your computer, I don't think that you're going to be satisfied with a different type of service. I think you're going to have problems at 5 megabits a second. Already you see the complaints with MLB.
Yeah, I think a lot of this will change over time, especially with the H.265 or HEVC becoming more of a standard. I think that will help things, but until it's going to be another 1 to 2 years before something like that really is of benefit to anybody.
You think so? You think another year or two for H.265 or a different type of delivery method, a different type of codec?
Yeah,
that
I
actually
mean,
works well?
you've got you have issues with the licensing for that as well, and that's something that's being hammered out now. And then just the overall licensing of that.
Yeah.
Because that's just one of those things that you got to figure out, and getting that integrated into existing devices so that it can be supported. Right now, really the best way to have do something HEVC is to use VLC. That's really the only way you're going to play something that's HEVC encoded.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So
I mean,
even right now, until devices start supporting it as widely as H.264, it's just something that's down the road.
Yeah.
And that's really where you're going to have your advantages, because you're going to be able to compress these videos at a much higher compression for a lower bit rate, but still retain that extremely high quality that you need in order for it to compete with what you would get for cable TV.
So I believe Netflix, for their 1080p stream, they're doing 10 megabits a second, right? It's about 10. Imagine, so that's still half of broadcast quality. That's still half of what you're normally going to get on a cable station. You know, but you're talking between 15 to 20 for a cable station.
Yeah.
So if they're able to take a 20 megabit stream, cut it into 10, and deliver broadcast quality, and not sacrifice, anything, and have it delivered over IP, I think that's really going to be the future of this. I don't know what at the end solution will be. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I think still we're technically not there yet with this, for it being as robust as it needs to be for people to really start switching over en masse. Right now, there'll be enthusiasts that are already technology into that field, that are very technological.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a while.
Would you? Here's a question for you. Like, what is your price point, right? Like, if they were to offer, if Hulu was to offer a plan, like, what do you think the price point should be? Like, what's a comfortable price point for you? Like $20? Get, the basic cable channels?
What kind of packages are we talking? We're talking about, what, like 20 channels?
Yeah, we're talking like 20 channels.
20 base channels?
20 base channels.
$15.
Yeah, $15, right? $14.99. Yeah, you're cheap, but I mean that's a realistic thing to watch it. You can't price it the same as cable. Like that's my argument here.
If I could get the same cable package that I have now for $40, $45, that would be amazing for half the price that I'm paying for that package.
Sure, it's a very interesting concept. I do think this is the future of it. The other thing that we have to look at is that FCC ruling where they want to open up those set-top boxes for anybody, where you could bring in any set-top box. You don't have to be, chained to your cable company. Then if that's the case, your Xbox, your PlayStation, your Apple TV could easily become a pass-through for your cable.
It's still going to take time to develop all this technology.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking for something like that, because that requires hardware changes. That's gonna be some time. But for streaming content, we're almost there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're almost there. In another 2 years, H.265 will become the standard for content delivery like this, and you are going to see a major renaissance happen as far as premium services for Hulu and Netflix. Listen, Netflix is maxed out in the U.S. Their growth isn't what it was. This is another way for something for something they could do to kind of grow it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's interesting.
That and you've got 4K coming. You got to have that compression, that new H.265 HEVC compression.
How are they delivering 4K
content.
now? How are they delivering 4K now?
I think it's still H.264.
What's the bit rate? Like 20 megabits, I'm guessing.
I don't know the specifics.
It has to be something insane.
But I mean, because you're talking about 1080p streams.
Yeah. John, go into a story here.
So I want to talk about this SpaceX story. So a few weeks ago, we saw them land a rocket on their drone ship. And last week, I believe was it Friday that they did this? Or, I think it was Friday morning that they launched another rocket to launch a satellite into space. And their expectations of landing this rocket safely back on their drone ship were set low, and yet they pulled it off a second time in a row.
Yeah.
This is the third time that they've actually landed the rocket, but only the second time they've landed it on the drone ship at sea. So this is pretty cool that they've been able to do this.
Yeah, this is a major accomplishment. I mean, this is something they've been working on for a while now, and they've kind of failed at it quite significantly, in testing. So this is a major. I guess what they're doing is working. It's just a matter of how many times are they going to test it before they can say it's a success.
Yeah, I don't know if you've watched any of the webcasts that they've done for this, but it's incredible that the information that they give you. You can listen to the entire technical webcast if you really wanted to. But the webcast I was watching, they were talking about all the technology that goes into the rocket itself in order to land it back on the drone ship. It's incredible all the things that they have to do in order to get this rocket to land. It's not just simply about it falling back down. They had to have it fall back down in a very controlled manner. And the technology that they've actually built into the Falcon 9 rocket is actually very incredible.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about them though, and this is an independent project. This is a privately held company that's doing this, and they're being very. I mean, they're successful. I mean, this is a major plus in the game of space exploration for a privately held company. This is just the beginning. This is the tipping point of this. It's so exciting to see the next 40 years of something like this.
Yeah, and they just updated the specs for how much of a payload that these rockets can carry. A Falcon 9 is known to be capable of hauling just over 50,000 pounds to low Earth orbit, and that's up from 29,000 pounds. And their Falcon Heavy, which is basically 3 Falcon 9 rockets, is able to carry almost 120,000 pounds instead of the previously promised 116,000 pounds.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's just crazy. The Falcon 9's rated liftoff thrust is 1.71 million, up from 1.3 million. And the Falcon Heavy will now put out 5.1 million pounds on liftoff instead of the earlier 4.5 million.
It's a very exciting time.
That is insane.
It's a very, very exciting time. I mean, look what.
And the fact that they're able to recapture these rockets and reuse them. This is proof that they can at least recapture the rockets.
Yeah.
And that goes, that's a lot for these companies that are trying to save a little bit of money where they can.
Yeah. I mean, look at the time that we're in, right? Look at a company like Tesla, for example, that's changing how we perceive the car manufacturing business, the car industry.
Yeah.
SpaceX is changing the way we look at space travel and delivery, of space goods. It's a very, very interesting time when you take a standard company, a company that an industry, for example, that has become an institution that wasn't as open, and you bring in outsiders into it, and it totally disrupts the entire market. It totally changes everything, and innovation starts being created. It's amazing.
I don't know about you, but in all honesty, I have not been this excited about space since I was a kid.
Yeah, because when we were kids, it was still exciting. I feel like, towards the end of NASA's space exploration program, it was
between 2005 and 2014, I think, were pretty boring space years.
Yeah.
There really wasn't a whole lot going on. The space shuttle program had wound down. And now we're starting to see all this exciting news from SpaceX with the stuff that they've been working on is coming to fruition, and it's really exciting to see that.
Yeah, that is very exciting. You know who else is excited, John? Google. You know why? Chrome is officially the most popular web browser in the world. Microsoft Internet Explorer has been the long-standing most popular browser on the internet. But the iron grip began to slip even more when Google launched Chrome in 2008. In 2012, one user tracker declared Chrome the new champion, but some others still had IE as the lead. Now, most of them agree Chrome is king. Chrome has been interesting because Chrome has been good from the beginning. Do you remember when Chrome came out?
Vaguely.
Okay, were you a Firefox user?
Still am.
You still are. You're not a Chrome user.
I mainly use Firefox, but I also use Chrome.
Why do you use Firefox? I'm curious.
For the customization that I can do,
Okay.
Chrome just does not have the same customization.
I was a Firefox user forever, ever. And I forgot what it was. Something led me to start using Chrome. I think it got clunky for me. It got a little clunky at one
It
point.
is, but I'm so used to the customizations that I've built into Firefox that I just cannot get the same feel and look with Chrome. It's just not possible. They don't have anything built in to do the same stuff.
I was
If Chrome was able to do the same thing as Firefox, I'd totally use Chrome.
I was a Windows Explorer user initially, and then I started using Netscape. And the way that I always do, if I want to change browsers, what I do is
You mean Mosaic?
Mosaic. No. It was Netscape Navigator at the time.
I'm trying to date you here.
Yeah, well, Mosaic was before. No, it was after. It was after Netscape. Yeah,
Mosaic was before.
Mosaic was before Netscape. I thought it was.
I'm pretty sure it predates Netscape.
Mosaic became Firefox.
No, they're completely different things.
Mozilla was Firefox.
Yes,
And then it became Mozilla
still
Firefox.
is.
It still is, but it was a different browser. They had a different browser. So I guess
Go back
it was
into
Mosaic.
your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it was Mosaic. I think you're right. So I was in Netscape. I forced myself to use Netscape because it was a better browser at the time. Until AOL bought them and got really crappy. But I forced myself by not even looking. Like I hid the icon so I don't even click on it. I kind of did the same with Chrome where I totally removed the icon for Firefox and I went to Chrome, and that's how I forced myself to use it. Now I have Firefox loaded up and I kind of use it for certain testing reasons to see if, my website is working properly or if I'm having some sort of weird issue on Chrome. But for the most part, I use Chrome. I don't know too many people that use Firefox as much as they use Chrome. And on the Mac, if they're not really technical, they use Safari.
Yeah.
It's interesting because they're all the same at this point,
I can't
really.
Look, I'm actually shocked it's taken this long for Chrome to become king in all of these trackers.
I don't know why anybody uses IE.
has been dead for several years.
I don't know, but why?
I'm not talking just 5. I'm talking longer than 5 years because I could not tell you the last time that I used Internet Explorer as my main browser. That's how long it's been.
I could tell you when the last time I used Internet Explorer as my main browser. Probably never. Probably you're talking, a decade. Over a decade.
Yeah.
I never had a reason to use Internet Explorer. It just never felt right to me. Once I went over to like a lighter weight, I think Firefox was great until they went beyond 3. After version 3, they got a little clunky. And now they're at version 43.
I think I was like you. I moved from IE to Netscape, and then I think I went from Netscape to Firefox.
Yeah. And I was like, man, this thing is awesome.
So you're talking about, when Netflix was still around. Back then, I still wasn't using IE.
What was around?
Years ago.
What was around? Netflix?
No, Netscape.
Oh, Netscape. You said Netflix. I was like, what? What happened to Netflix? Well, you kind of had to. Didn't Netflix use Silverlight for a while?
They still do.
They still do. Interesting.
Why that's still a thing, I don't know.
I don't know either, but they have overtaken them.
Even Microsoft has given up on Silverlight, so why? I don't.
Yeah. Going to another story, John.
So let's talk about this podcasting story in here.
Yeah.
So the New York Times sources say that Apple recently held talks with 7 quote unquote leading podcast professionals at its headquarters. Hold on a minute. I had to. The video restarted. Yeah, so it screwed me up.
Yeah.
While the crew at One Infinite Loop didn't vow to make any changes, they reportedly discussed several pressing issues in the podcasting world. While the exact nature of the talks is hush-hush, there are a few common issues that likely came up. First is simply the matter of discovering shows. Apple's current iTunes store has been the same for basically 10 years now. Another issue was that podcasters also want better subscriber data, much like you get with the App Store and when you download an app. And if you're an app developer, you get a whole bunch of stats. But if you're a podcaster, there are no stats from iTunes.
Yeah.
And then the third issue that they probably discussed is monetization, finding a way to monetize podcasts inside of iTunes.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here. One, they probably spoke to the big networks, NPR, for example, and people like that. But it is interesting because there are some, iTunes is king when it comes to podcasts, but there are a lot of issues with them. One being that the search algorithm is a little wacky. So let's say I'm searching for the so-and-so podcast, right? And it's and it'll compile like a list of like 5 of them or 10 of them, whatever, that they recommend.
Yeah.
If you look at that list and you click on all of them, I guarantee you some of them have not been updated in years. They're outdated. I think that's a problem. I think if you have not released a show within 30 days or let's say 90 days, you should lose some ranking.
I think you do end up eventually getting kicked out.
After, I think it's like after 3 years.
I think they need a weighted system where, what's active is up there. They need to do more of a Facebook style thing. People talk about, better discovery on iTunes. And I think, the things that Facebook is doing in terms of their algorithm of what to show people, I think Apple could do the same thing with iTunes.
Yeah, they have to come up with some sort of new way of doing it because the store has gotten really cluttered. And here's another example. I have a podcast that was on another network. That other network canned them. And they came on to us 4 years ago. And when you search for the podcast, they come up before ours. Even though the feed is dead. The feed is like there's nothing there. They still come up. So
yeah, because iTunes favors that network.
iTunes favors, yeah. But regardless, I don't even think it's a favorite thing. I think it's an algorithm thing because the network has traction and they're doing some weird algorithm to kind of rank everybody. But that is a problem when people are searching and I get messages saying, hey, you haven't updated your podcast.
Yeah.
It's things like that. I think it needs more maintenance and it needs more eyeballs. But for Apple's case, they don't make money from podcasts, so they don't care.
But I think part of the problem is that iTunes has let podcasts in the iTunes store languish for quite a while, where they really have not given podcasts in iTunes store the attention that it needs to be brought up and revamped. And that's really what they need to do is revamp podcast in iTunes.
Have you done Google Music yet for podcasts?
I still, Google Music Play is still in its early stages for podcasts, and I think over time they can improve upon that. But right now, I don't think it's any threat to iTunes.
You know what bothers me on I guess I'm old school. I like an actual app. I actually like there to be an application when I'm like searching for this stuff. I don't want to go in the browser for this.
Well, this is also one of the complaints that I saw from somebody that criticized these talks and these ideas is that, these are interesting ideas, but implementing them is going to be extremely difficult in that it doesn't necessarily exclude people that want to use their own application like Pocket Cast or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because yes, you can get subscriber data and you can get all this information from iTunes and you can monetize stuff. But what about those people that don't use iTunes? What about those people that use Android? What about those people that use Pocket Cast or some other podcast catcher?
Yeah. Well, I think that.
So I think.
When one of those guys, I think they'll be the first to somehow fix this algorithm issue, right? It'll be the smaller guys because they have a team dedicated to that. When you talk about monetizing on podcasts, I think they'll be the first to do this.
But iTunes is still way bigger than any of these smaller guys.
They are, but remember, their efforts are going to be less because it's not a source of income for them. Stitcher tried to monetize on podcasts and it totally failed. They couldn't do it. They were implementing.
Yeah. I don't know that iTunes could do it either. I think so much of this depends on the way it's implemented. And I think the way that they implement it, especially when it comes to subscriber stats, it needs to work with not just iTunes. If they're just setting it up, I mean, yes, they could. If you could get some benefits from doing it with just iTunes data, but I think in terms of counting downloads and stuff, it needs to count with more than just iTunes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't know what the right answer is right now for this. It's a very changing time.
Because that's only good if all you're doing is funneling your people to iTunes.
Listen,
Because if iTunes gives you that stats that you want, well, then you're going to end up favoring iTunes over anybody else that doesn't have those stats.
yeah, listen, the way that it works for us is majority of our downloads are still on iTunes. Majority of our listeners are coming from iTunes. We don't see as much as I thought we would from Google Music and things like that when I look at the
Sure,
ranking.
but you want to be able to count every single place.
You want to
that
be
your
able to
podcast
count
is getting
every single
downloaded.
place.
And
Absolutely.
if it's just iTunes doing that tracking,
Absolutely.
well, then you're not going to get a great picture. You're
Yeah.
going to get a somewhat of a big picture, but you're not going to get the complete picture.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's an interesting discussion to have. Guys, that's it for this week. John, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Suncast, SUNKST, and you can also see all the stupid stuff that I do on my website, suncast.com. And tonight,
you're on
tonight
a podcast
I'm going to be on the Gonna Geek podcast at 8:45 p.m. Eastern.
Love it. Love it, love it,
That's
love it.
at GonnaGeek.com, by the way.
GonnaGeek.com. Go there. Go check it out. Also, you can follow us, GFK Network. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. We have an Amazon page, guys. If you purchase anything on Amazon, use our link, gfq.co/Amazon. Bookmark that link. And whenever you buy something, we get a tiny little credit. It really helps us out. And that's it for this week, guys. See you all later.